What up, YouTubers? Welcome back to the channel. Sunny Stiver here. Sunny Stiver's Biohack and Reset Show. Not sure if that's one's gonna stick or not. 1 year post-op. Yes. We made it. Holy crap. Man, can I cram a bunch of stuff into 1 year or what? So 1 year ago, major big old D to absolutely nothing, itty bitty, yeah. So, you know, and I was in the room, one of the rooms that I'm involved with this morning, and somebody had posted that in August it had been a year for them, and they still feel like crap. And my heart goes out to them because it's 1 year today and I feel amazing. So what I want to do, I implanted December of 2008, and I explanted a year ago. I had them for 11 years. Here's a list. Here's our famous breast implant illness list. So, this is what happened to me. And the reason I got my implants done, we all get our implants done for different reasons, right? Whether it's we never had a chest at all, we had cancer, and it was part of reconstruction. You know, whether we just do. We all have different reasons for why we wind up with breast implants, and ultimately breast implant illness. Here's our list. This is what happened for me. Anxiety, yep. Fatigue, yep. Joint pain, muscle pain, insomnia, yep. Brain fog, couldn't put 3 sentences together. Difficulty concentrating, memory loss. I still have some spots that are just gone. Limb numbness and tingling, vertigo, fever and chills, yep. Muscle weakness, temperature intolerance, sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound. I actually went through a period of time where I had to wear earplugs around people. And my husband is hard of hearing because of being a train engineer, and he does not wear a hearing aid, so which means he yells at me a lot. He doesn't realize it. Yeah, I actually went through a period of time where it was so bad I had to wear earplugs, even out in general public, and I can hear people talk through earplugs. Difficulty swallowing, oh yeah. Hair loss. I actually didn't lose my hair until I detoxed, until I started detoxing. Dry skin and hair, yep. Slow healing, not sure. I was in such a fog that I guess that would probably be true, because I'll get to that in a minute. Sinus infections, oh yes. Reoccurring illness, that goes. Candida yeast infections, no. Interestingly enough, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. Skin rashes and lesions, no. Visual disturbance, oh God, you guys. That dysregulation in your vision, yeah, we got that. Choking feeling, ringing in my ears, headaches, depression, decreased does suicide attempts count? Decreased libido, mood swings, sharp pains in breast. At the end, I hated them. I would walk around with them in my hands, wishing I could take a knife and just cut them off of me. Weight gain, food intolerances. Yeah, if you're new to my channel, there's some stuff back there in the playlist. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. swollen tender lymph nodes, autoimmune diagnosis, landed with MS, thanks. Wheelchair was no fun at all. Chronic fatigue symptoms, chronic fatigue stage 4, fibromyalgia symptoms, inflammation goes without saying, heart palpitations. I don't know that I ever actually felt a heart palpitation or not. How would I know? I was so flaming numb and irritable bowel or bladder. I was incontinent before I started detoxing, before I got them out. Stockholder and depends, thanks. Shortness of breath. Okay, so I was also a 43-year smoker, duh. Night sweats. Oh yeah. Yeah, guys. Got it all. But, yeah. Here's the thing. Explanting may or may not be the miracle you're looking for. Explanting is just the beginning. I had started detoxing 4 months before today. I started detoxing in July when I found out that I had breast cancer, which was my ticket out. So I implanted in December of 2008, but here's the scary part, guys. I had a large part of that before I stuck implants into my body. I mean, if you're new to my channel, I was a hot mess before I did that. I mean, my circadian rhythm was already trashed. I had just come off of working graveyards, throwing freight for Safeway. I was underweight then too. I had just come out of a toxic situation taking care of my grandmother and my biological mother. That was a hot mess. I had just reconciliated with my husband. And then I go sticking breast implants in my body. And it was like catastrophic. Let's throw 25 gallons of gasoline on this and just watch it explode. I lost my bloody mind completely. Before that, I had been a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous for 15 years, from 88 to 2003. And okay, with that, my part of my story in 2003 when I derailed and picked up, and my hormones were already all over the place. I lost a baby. I had to terminate her because she was atopic. I had a suicide. I was a hot mess before. Then I go stick a breast implant in and just gone. So how we get to that place of making the decision to put breast implants, I mean, I was just like everybody else who does them for aesthetic purposes, I would imagine. I had been small-chested my whole life. I identified as a child as a tomboy, really. I never did get really in tune with my feminine set of emotions until I was well off into my 30s. So it was a decision of curiosity, really. I mean, I didn't necessarily have a problem with me specifically, but I always had that curiosity of, I wonder what it would be like, right? So I do the implants and I just lose it. I mean, I couldn't stay sober. It was awful. In 2014, I was diagnosed with MS following a suicide attempt where I left pavement at 58 miles an hour on purpose. And having gone AMA from the emergency room because they wouldn't give me a cigarette and a drink of water. was like, I come to, I just run over one of my dogs. I come to in the emergency room and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. They tell me, oh yeah, you broke your neck. We think you broke your neck. And I said, give me a drink of water. Because I was dehydrated. I was also under the influence. I was dehydrated. And they're like, no, we can't do that because, for surgery. And I'm like, give me a cigarette. I said, I'm going to walk out to that patio. I'm going to smoke a cigarette and you're going to give me a drink of water and then we'll have a conversation. I was pissed. I mean, I was angry. And up on my Facebook page is a picture of my local fire department. And one of the girls in that picture was on scene that day. And I was angry. I was pissed off when I came to. So they put a neck brace on me. I ripped out my IVs. I went home, took a shower, guzzled about a gallon of coconut water, smoked 3/4 of however many cigarettes I could get in 3 hours. And I went back and had surgery, but that was December, ironically, again, of 13. In the spring of 14, I was diagnosed with MS. My whole body had gone numb. It started with these 2 fingers right here. My whole body had gone numb. And my surgeon, who did an amazing job stabilizing my neck, and in fact, my neck is more stable now than it ever was since birth because of the amount of hyperextension I have in all of my joints. I want to give Gumby a run for his money. My chiropractor yesterday gave me adjustment. He's like, you're just like a pretzel, man. I have to, when you get adjusted and you're laying on your side, it's like my knee goes all the way to the floor before my back will give into an adjustment. So, diagnosed with MS. Incidentally, I had just been in rehab in 2008, in October, like literally, this month. At Cottonwood Day, Tucson for alcohol for the second time. First time I went was 1988. So 2008, I went and got out of there, came home, reconciliated with my husband. Everything was wonderful, right? For a minute. Until it wasn't. And then it was a hot mess. So here's the thing. Explanting is just the beginning. I fell down the biohacking rabbit hole by way of psychoneuroendocrinology, by way of Dr. Berg, by way of supplementation, by way of how a biohacker winds up getting down the rabbit hole. And what a biohacker, here's the true definition of a biohacker. A biohacker is a private individual who, that glares like a little much, I'm sorry. A biohacker is a private citizen, an individual who chooses to take on 100% full responsibility for not just their physical health, their mental, emotional, spiritual health as well. That's what a true biohacker is. The difference between, I was with my myofascia practitioner yesterday, and he says, well, all of that stuff has been present in functional medicine for a long time. I said, I know. A biohacker is somebody who directs themselves and they don't rely upon a medical doctor. So I was a hot mess before that, right? And then I just go do it. If you are in a metabolic crisis already, if you are overweight, if you are diabetic, if you suffer or you're plagued with depression or anxiety to begin with, and you address some of those issues with breast implants over insecurity, however you get there, you have just compound fractured everything. Then, and I did not find out about breast implant illness until I was 50 years old and I was in Bisbee for my 50th birthday. And I started sharing with somebody. We were at the bar, and I was under the influence at that particular time. I was off of probation, actually. It was a time frame of about 1.5 years. I was not on paper. And she was telling me, I was sharing with her all of my symptoms, and she's like, I had all those symptoms too. I had my breast implants removed, and boom. So depending on who you are and where your story starts before you put implants in, just having them removed is just potentially a starting place. If you're one of those health freaks and you're a bodybuilder and you're already doing it right, and you do breast implants for aesthetic purposes, you might be okay for a minute. But here's the thing. You are sticking a foreign object into your body that is not supposed to be there. And your body has to protect itself from a foreign invader. Full stop, period. End of conversation. It's why that creates the capsule around it. And so I started, because I knew a little bit about cancer, and there's videos back there. I have one, I'll link it down below. I will link a link to my video that I did on pre-explant, pre-surgical explant. I got that one wrong. The Gerson protocol, yeah, that's just straight sugar. It still doesn't make any sense why that works. Well, I did do a video on that too, but. So, here I am, I'm 50 years old. I find out, I looked at the breast implant illness list one time, and I never looked at it again. And here's why. Because I couldn't afford to get them out. I was in a death sentence. It was like, my husband and I, our circumstances were what they were. We did not have the financial means to get them out. At the time that I got them in, we had lost a pine tree in my front yard in a microburst, and it literally lifted the tree up out of the ground and laid, an 80-foot pine tree, and laid it over our pool area, and took out the first 3, 4, 5 courses of the wall. And we wound up getting some money back off of that, which is how I got them to begin with. It was a good Christmas. It was a great Christmas. It was probably, of all Christmases my husband and I have spent together, it was probably the best one. But it was a fluke that we had the financial means to do that, to have my implants done. And then once I realized there was a problem, it was like, great. And I proceeded to get worse. And I was actually on my way to a fourth final suicide attempt. It was a good plan too. We have a walk-in shower with 4 shower heads in it. I was gonna go in there, I was gonna strip down, turn all those shower heads on, stick a gun to my chest, pull the trigger with the water running, so that my husband, when he discovered me, didn't have to clean up a mess. And that is when I turned on the TV, and there was a show, and here was my thought process. I'm gonna go see what's on the news right now, just so I have something to think about on my way out. And I turned on the TV, and there was a show on called Suddenly Rich. There was a high school kid on there that was making more money than his parents and teachers combined from his cell phone day trading stocks. And down a rabbit hole I went. And so I studied that for 2.5 years. But again, I was strung out on sugar, still smoking like a train. Actually, there's an interview. I will link it in the show notes below. Here locally, that was done in 2017. It was shot in 2017. It aired the Friday before New Year's. Don't drink and drive. This is what can happen. It was the 13-year follow-up on a train wreck that had happened back in 2004, where I spent 6 months up in the news. made national news on that one. So I was a hot mess before. Depending on who you are, if you're watching this video, let's talk about some statistics. 88% of North America is in a metabolic crisis. With or without breast implants is irrelevant, right? If you don't know how to take care of yourself, breast implants just compound fractures it. So when I had them removed and I started tripping across all of this information because of chasing after the whole cancer situation, and I mean, just one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I'm in the biohacking rabbit hole. I'm studying biohackers, I'm testing, and I put up my channel January 1st this year. So if you're interested, you can go and I appreciate my followers that have taken the time to. I have one follower has watched my videos chronologically backwards to the beginning, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're way better." Oh yeah, I can actually put three words together, and make a coherent sentence without going, oh God. So this is what I've done. There's a video back there too on biohacking baseline testing. I explanted October. I made a decision to I was feeling good enough and clean enough to take a run at, because I wound up on disability. I wound up with getting my benefits because of multiple sclerosis in 2016. And that was also incidentally the same year that simultaneously this happened. My husband lands on the bathroom floor with acute chronic pancreatitis, has a tumor on his pancreas the size of a grapefruit, has his gallbladder ripped out. Our whole world came to a screeching halt. Our business, I mean, we were the busiest we've ever been. My husband is an officer of Superior Court. He's a process server. He's the guy that shows up and says, like, "You've been served." And the whole world lands in my lap. That was a stressor, and in that same week, I got my benefits. So that was a blessing and a curse. Because here's what happens when you get benefits. All of a sudden, you're put into a box. I mean, this is as much money as you can make. You'll never make any more. Or you can't risk making any more because you risk losing your health benefits if you do. Maybe you can get back to work. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't do it something consistently. That's why stock trading was so appealing to me. But my body couldn't handle the stress of trading stocks either. So, I mean, it would just crash. I mean, in a virtual situation, absolutely all day I can trade stocks. But when I would put hard cash on the line, my adrenals would dump. And the next thing you know, I look like I'm shooting heroin, falling out. It was like awful. But here's an interesting thing. I had that same falling out feeling all the way back to I went to rehab in 88. 1990? 1990. I got up one day to go to work. I got in the shower and I bounced off of my shower walls like I was drunk, stone cold sober. Went for medical testing. Nothing's wrong with you except stress. And they ran a bunch of tests. So, depending on who you are and where your story starts, removing your implants may or may not be the be-all, end-all that you think it might be. So, I have done hair analysis for heavy metals, food sensitivities. There's videos back there on that. Wound up going carnivore ultimately. I have dealt with a parasitic infection and a bacterial overgrowth infection. I'm still moving heavy metals. I have mercury. I went over this before. On a scale of 1 to 100 on a 5 strands test, the marker's at 85. I wound up with a heavy metal that we're still not exactly sure because it's not part of our soup. the toxic soup that implants are made out of. I have dealt with, man, what a ride. It's been a ride. So in January, I decided to take a run at getting back to work. And I was feeling good enough, got a job, started February at a call center. Feeling pretty good. You can go back there and I'll put my YouTube channel up January 1st. Let's get this party started. Now that I'm like halfway coherent, I can think. You know, the brain fog, probably 85% of the brain fog left almost right away. The whites of my eyes cleared up right away. I had already dropped, I was 205 pounds when cancer came falling out of my doctor's mouth. My A1C was 10.2. I was this close to insulin dependent. And I had I didn't care. I was just trying to eat myself to death, really, is what I think. And till cancer, that was a beautiful day because I knew what to do. Well, I thought I knew what to do. So, February, got the job. March, caught the flu. COVID happened. I had an incident. My adrenals dumped. I landed in the emergency room with stellar labs. And I had already been down psychoneuroendocrinology rabbit hole, so I knew, and with Stanford University's Physiology 101 course that's available on YouTube. So I knew I had already started tripping across information, right? That my diet and I had already started fasting, was in a fasting cycle, I was cleaning stuff up, and caught the flu. And that's when I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue stage 4. Down another rabbit hole we go. And the Dutch test. And it's been a ride, right? So I just want to encourage everybody that the part that was really hard, because nobody's harder on us than we are, right? I mean, literally nobody. Nobody's going to kick our own tail around the parking lot any harder than we're going to do it for ourselves. A lot of this stuff on that list is going to happen to you anyway if you're not taking care of yourself. If you go into menopause and you don't know how to take care of yourself, you're going to gain weight, right? The moodiness, your hormones are going to go wonky. If they're not already wonky, a whole bunch of that stuff's going to happen anyway if you don't know how to take care of yourself. So I just want to encourage you that that's my story. I'm 1 year post-explant, post-surgery, and I feel amazing. But I went all in on everything. So on the last video I posted, things got a little wonky in my personal life. And I quit smoking. Okay, so cancer. I had the lumpectomy removed. I declined radiation. I was cleared with a PET scan in February. After I went carnivore, I was having some GI discomfort. I think I passed a gallstone is what I think happened. And had a CAT scan done where they discovered a 4-millimeter nodule on my left lobe. I quit smoking that day, August 25th, my birthday. I just relapsed after things got wonky. I shared that story in the last video. Because that's what we do. We revert back to old behavior patterns, right? And for me, I revert back to that project manager on her game, flying by the seat of my pants, making a round peg go into a square hole, look custom made to be there. with a pot of coffee and a pack of cigarettes. And I'm like, oh God, how the hell did this happen? We will be picking up our brain core training machine on Monday. I called my chiropractor and yesterday, and I'm having my myofascia. I have solidification. So if you don't know what your fascia is, your myofascia, that is the cotton. It's almost like cotton candy in its texture, like a spider web. It literally connects everything. It's the largest. You know, they say that our skin is our largest organ. That's actually kind of not true. Your myofascia is not a technical organ, but it is the largest thing in your body. It connects everything, every blood vessel, every tendon, every bone. It's the spiderwebby stuff that keeps your stuff together. And I've got some solidification following a thermography scan. There's a video back there on all the hard diagnostics I've done. I had a thermography scan done because I refuse mammograms. It's like, no, I'm not radiating myself anymore. Hard pass, thanks. Go look up the truth about that. Oh God, I was just so ignorant. I didn't know. We're part of the Western system, and you just know what you know because you know what mainstream tells you. Hashtag whoops. And a thermography scan is an infrared scan. The surprising thing, so I had a GI mapping. That's how we discovered the parasites and the bacterial overgrowth. The surprising thing was I had no candida. I had no yeast. I had no inflammation markers on that particular scan because I had dealt with all of that with the detox I did last year. I had a thermography scan, and even as a 43-year smoker, my lungs on that scan look exceptionally great. I had a CT scan. All the physical structure of all of my organs is exceptional, with the exception of my lungs. So I am very fortunate that I am 55 years old. I'm in amazing condition, with the exception of that smoking element and that nodule on my lung. So, and I have a drive and a desire to check off this planet happy, healthy, dead. Not happy, sort of, kind of wonky, 8-10 years suffering in a recliner. Hard pass on that trip. It wasn't until probably wasn't until 4, 5, 6 months ago, post brain core training, my neurological feedback. I have a friend who has been requesting me talk about the neurological factor and the neurological synapses and healing the brain. I've got my nutrition right to feed my brain so it can heal. I have the weight off. I'm down, well, I'm literally way underweight right now. I'm 100 and I vacillate between 113, 115 pounds. I started at 205. I was a bloated, ugh. I just had a scan done, a metabolic scan done. I have the metabolic age of a 12-year-old. What that means, according to Dr. Zach yesterday, was that my body is literally functioning like it's 12 years old, which means I need to be eating way more, and I need to push my fasting window out from 6 hours to 7 or 8. I don't know how I feel about that because of the cancer part of the equation and what I know autophagy can do for cleaning up cancer cells. See, here's the thing, guys. We all have cancer. We all have cancer cells in our bodies. The trick is to not give it a toxic enough environment to get organized, right? If you're dumping sugar down your throat, if you're stressed out, if you are off center emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you're gonna wind up, we're at 1 out of 2. I mean, we are literally at a statistic of 50% of the population on this planet, in North America anyway, according to the study, will have a run-in with cancer in their lifetime. So the trick is, don't give it the opportunity to get organized. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Because I quit smoking on my birthday. Because here's what the universe doesn't like. The universe doesn't like a vacuum. If you're gonna remove something, you better have something good to put in its place, right? I removed my implants. I was already on the trajectory of detoxing. I just kept on going. Put that butt right to the floor and stay on it all the way to the bitter end. That's my plan. And you find out, so here's a statistic for you. 88% of North America is in a metabolic crisis. That means 12% of those people that are not are probably health conscious, at least to the degree that they're not in a metabolic crisis. Of that 12%, maybe, and nowhere can you find this statistic, maybe 1 to 3% of those people are actually self-identified biohackers, taking full on 1000% responsibility for self in every way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all in. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about getting having your breast implants removed, that's an amazing place to start. Heavy emphasis on start. You got to find out where your heavy metals is at. Parasites. According to the World Health Organization, 65 to 85% of the planet's got an infection, don't know it. You got to know where you're at, because having them removed may not be the miracle that you think it's going to be. Like you're just going to wake up out of surgery and, 3 months, 6 months down the road, everything's wonderful, and you can start pouring. Somebody in the adrenal fatigue room the other day says, will we ever get back to that place where we were? And it's like, no, I probably will never be able to pour diesel down a gasoline engine ever again. I mean, I just did a video on hot rod building and and biohacking. This book right here, Carnivore Code. This is where I landed. This is where I learned about the toxicity of plants. Who knew? I took the hard route, and I had to do 5 strands and get 5 pages of, you're allergic to everything you're currently shoving down your throat that got you out of a wheelchair. It's been an interesting ride. And it's unfortunate. See, there's going to come a time when I know how to edit these YouTube videos, and I'll be able to put in my funny GIFs. If you follow me on Facebook, there's a cartoon going on up in this head. I have an amazing good time. I do. And even when it goes all kind of wonky, I was like, my favorite GIF ever is that girl walking through the movie theater with a bucket of popcorn and trips. Boom! Popcorn everywhere. It's like, harksing! Oh yeah, we're on the floor. Turn the radio up. So, it's all about attitude. Right? And this is probably the longest video I've put up in a hot minute. My psychoneuroendocrinology video. I haven't listened to that one in a minute, man. I was all over the place in that one. We love you. Hashtag YouTube saved my life can save yours too. Get on it. Man, there's nothing out there that the data is out there. It is out there. Here's little Miss Molly. Come up here. Want to see? You want to say hi to everybody? No. Little Miss Molly, she's the one that got into my cannabis the other day, and we thought I had a dog that was poisoned. Turned out she was just wicked high. That's how things got wonky. We love you. I'm so glad you're here. If you made it all the way to the end, I so appreciate you. I appreciate your support. Hit that like button, subscribe. There's more coming. There's more back there. There's about I don't know, 4, 5, 6 that are technically YouTube driven. My story before that was just a vlog, something I could leave my children and my grandchildren and my descendants thereof. There's more coming, more specific. We're picking up the brain core training on Monday. I will be down that rabbit hole. I'm going to try to pull off 60 sessions in 1 week. We'll see. Well, if I can get 10 sessions in, which is only 5.5 hours of brain training a day, that's 70 sessions in 1 week. That's as much as I did the first protocol. Oh, just technically, between baseline mappings. So I had a baseline. I did 72 sessions. I did another baseline. I had 45% brainwave increase. 45% in between protocols. It's good stuff. Bioneurofeedback, it makes everything comfy. It's like, yeah, I know I need to like get off the sugar and the cigarettes and I know that but what happens is it takes your body a while to get caught up with itself, and then brain core training just comes in and regulates your brain waves and the dysfunction, and has to do with the right and left hemisphere. And I've got a video back there on it. Go up, look-see. We love you. Share this video if you know of anybody who is currently either in a crisis with explant. Share this video with somebody who's thinking about doing implants. It's like, you might want to address your vanity issues before you decide to put that in. Because if you're mentally unbalanced and you go sticking implants in, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. We love you. Until next time, stay legendary. Always.